Yo, 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 this is Ty, the official TAI. Welcome back to my channel. Good morning. Today is Tuesday, January 12th of 2021. This month is steady going along. Let's go ahead and dive right on in. What is going on with this EIDL loan program funding? Why hasn't the grant portal, or whatever you want to call it, opened up yet? As of right now, the SBA is not in compliance. Just as Mrs. Carranza, somebody who also works for the SBA and was supposed to distribute the grant money to $10,000 per applicant that was approved, not $1,000 per employee. So if you're hearing that anywhere else, they're giving you the wrong info, okay? Find a more credited, a credible YouTube page like mine. Like, comment, subscribe, and share, of course. It was never $1,000 per company or per employee. That's ridiculous. Unless, since Mrs. Carranza, which is the lady that decided from the SBA to give the loans, or I should say to give the grants only at $1,000 per employee. She is the one that came up with that bright idea. Although Congress tested her, they checked her and everything, and they're asking, why did you decide this? What did you come up with? Granted, I guess she couldn't do like any jail time or prison time or anything like that for it. However, sis did lose her job for it because she made a crazy decision to take it upon herself to only give $1,000 per employee. Well, who did that benefit? The bigger companies. What was the purpose for? The smaller companies. So now the first 2 days, supposedly yesterday and today. So we'll see how that really goes. Supposedly the first 2 days of this grant program opening up for the EIDL program online, the portal, once it does open up, the first 2 days is supposed to be priority to those of low income. That way they have a chance to get in and succeed and not necessarily have to close their mom and pop stores down. Not for those big companies that had more than one employee, for that small proprietor, for that gig worker, for those smaller companies or those smaller businesses that actually could really use the help. That was ridiculous. Esperanza, what was her name? Carranza, Mrs. Carranza. You're fired, as Trump would say, just like he is. Speaking of which, everybody is like in lieu of trying to fire somebody. At this point, they're trying to say that, one, Trump is going to resign. Then two, if not, the Democrats are going to kick him out of office anyway with impeachment. And actually, it's not even just the Democrats. At any rate, where's my money? I want to know where it is. It's probably because the different parties are changing. They don't want Esperanza touching her hands in it. Her name is not Esperanza, excuse me. Her name is Carranza. Either way, she got the boot. She's fired. So is Trump. Oh, well. Anyway, in local news. All right, I'm trying to do this without editing. Let me know how this works out. I'm all over the place because I'm feeling like a little jitters right now. But hopefully this EIDL program, the grant side of it at least, will be open by today, no later than tomorrow. Literally. Hopefully it'll be open this week for you small businesses, for you minorities that are in low income areas that meet those criteria, of the second stimulus package. I want you all to just pretty much be able to take advantage because this is ridiculous at this point. How does the world expect anybody to move on without giving them the proper tools and assistance that's needed to do so? I keep pausing because I'm used to stopping and editing, so just bear with me. At any rate, the EIDL loan program, again, the deadline was yesterday. I don't know what happened. They didn't put out a public announcement or anything like that. I think it's because they want let me go back to her name, Mrs. Carranza lady, to go ahead and be on her merry way with her own decision making or whatever it was that she came up with when Congress was actually drilling her about the way that she distributed the funds. But at least, if that is the case, I feel comfortable knowing that they're going to make sure that everybody who is entitled to these funds, the full $10,000 grant from the EIDL loan, they're going to make sure that everybody who is entitled to it gets it, as well as those that want to apply that are from the smaller or the lower income communities have that chance, have that advantage before the big companies come and really take it over. But again, it is $10,000 or the balance thereof, not $1,000 per employee. So don't even go there. Don't even think about it. Don't listen to half the people that's on YouTube that's saying it. It is not $1,000 per employee. That's Miss Esponza, whatever her name is. You're fired. She's done. The low income communities, those mom and pop stores, those corner stores, the little things that people in the lower income communities rely on, we need that. I'm speaking for a whole lot of people right now. We need that. Give them their funding. At this point, everybody should know the particulars at this point, but allow me to reiterate. At this point, there is still $20 billion because no funds have been distributed yet, especially from the Eidl loan program of the grant side of it, the allowance side of it, the free $10,000 side of it. The funds are still sitting there. So yes, it is $20 billion set aside for this whenever the SBA decides they want to distribute it. I'm assuming it's because of the change in the office, like I previously said. If that's the case, I understand they want to make sure nobody has any bad blood and still decides to distribute these funds wrongly. If that's the case, I am okay with people waiting to get it done right the first time, not the second time. So let me go ahead. How do you qualify? Do you have less than 300 employees? Less than 300 employees, not 500 from the initial Eidl program, from the first stimulus package, from the Section 331. Then they said 500 employees or less. Now they're saying less than 300 employees. Okay, so the numbers are different. So Section 332, 300 or less employees, economic loss of 30% or more, obviously be in a low income area. And again, you have to be able to show the proof of this loss, show how it has affected you. And one of those ways that you must show would be your income. 8 consecutive weeks. Again, show 8 consecutive weeks that your income declined. And then the subsequent 8 consecutive weeks that were up or down or whatever the case is. You need to be able to compare and show that your company did actually take a dive or your gig did actually take a dive financially this year because of COVID-19. Don't forget, you must qualify for the loan first in order to get any of this $10,000 allowance, grant, free money, whatever you want to call it. And once you meet all those requirements, the SBA has 21 days to get back to you. Just 21 days. Back then, about 10 months ago, it was 3 days, which is probably why it was so much fraud and everybody got away with getting the money rather they actually deserved it or not. I'm going to be honest with you. In addition to that, there's going to be a priority payout, obviously. Priority payout is going to go to those from the stimulus package 1 that never even received the full $10,000 because let's say they had 1 or 2 employees. Remember, this was really geared towards the smaller businesses. SBA, Small Business Association, but who am I? I don't work there, and Miss Carranza was never one of my friends. She's fired. That's going to be the word of the day. After we find out if Trump is going to actually resign, which probably was a joke. And that was actually on a federal website. I think from what I heard, it was actually an employee, a disgruntled employee, because you know they all lose their jobs after the term is over. So he probably is not getting his job back, and he's like, you know what else do I have to lose at this point? I'm already losing my job, so let me go ahead and put Trump out there. Anyway, the email did say, or the letter did say, and it was dated that as of last night, Trump had resigned. That would have been pretty cool, but I don't think dude got enough dignity or anything like that to actually sit down and sign a paper saying, I resign. He seems like the type you're going to have to grab him and throw him out the door. He seems like the type you would have to grab him and throw him out the door. Just like, what's his name? DJ Jazzy Jeff off of the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Remember, every time he came over, Uncle Phil literally picked him up and threw him out the door. And he said, that's going to be Trump. Of course, there's priority payout. The first is going to go to those that did not receive the full $10,000 from the first stimulus package. So if you only got 1 or 2,000 because you only had 1 or 2 employees, which was erroneous and that was never a part of the guidelines, you are first in line to be entitled to the full $10,000. Literally, the full $10,000 will be awarded to you if you only got, let's say, 1,000 or so from the first stimulus package, from the first Eidl program. Okay? The second disbursement will go out to those that didn't get any funding. All they got was a loan. You know why? Because the funding ran out. There was no funding because the funding ran out. There was no funding to give these small employees. There was no funding to give these smaller companies, even if it was to be paid out by employee. They ran out of money. So they're second in line if you got nothing at all. Now, third in line would be those, the newer applicants that got nothing at all. So good luck with that. How are you affected by this? What kind of business do you have? I get a lot of questions for those that are worried about whether or not they're going to be approved. But for those that are approved, what do you plan to do with this money? Since it is taking so long, remember the phrase delayed, not denied? Yes, delayed, not denied. So with that being said, just because something is delayed don't mean you won't get it. And since it is delayed, it might be meant for you to mentally think about it. What am I planning to do with this money? Perhaps when you got it initially, had you gotten it on time or what you thought was on time, you would have actually gotten it and perhaps blew it or wasn't as strategic with it. Or now that you do have this idle time, you can get it idle loan, idle time. Yes, they are literally taking their idle time, except it doesn't have an E in the beginning of it. At any rate. So what I'm trying to get to is I want you to actually plan for this $10,000. Whatever the loan amount is and whether or not you actually decide to take it, that's completely up to you. And I support you regardless. And I support you irregardless. However, what do you plan to do with this $10,000 grant that you don't have to pay back? Yes, this is pretty much free money. It can only be used towards certain things. It cannot be used to pay off, obviously. It cannot be used to pay off anything to buy, a car, a building, property, overhead, things like that. No, it is but what you can use it on is obviously to get things for your business, any overhead, any company expenses, salary, pay your old employees, maybe even pay your employees for being off for 2 weeks because they were also affected by COVID or actually contracted COVID themselves. So plan what you're going to do with this money. If it's going to be to revamp your storefront, if it's going to be new product, if it's going to be a whole new change completely. Either way, just plan for it. Be purposeful in what you're doing in life. Because you know what? This stuff might not last long. So plan, be effective, be purposeful. And like, comment, subscribe, and share. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Holla at your girl. Let me know what you're going to be doing with this money. And if you actually made it to the end of this video, which I pray that you did, go ahead and comment down there. I'm here for the long run, Ty. Literally, TAI.